2024. I don't know about you, everybody, but I'm sensing those bulls. I'm sensing the bull market bulls. There is so much happening right now in crypto. I want to break down, obviously, the Bitcoin charts. You see a nice breakout on Bitcoin right now. ADA on the weekly, trying to make a little bit of a comeback. ETH on the weekly, trying to still make a monumental multi-cycle breakout. I want to talk about all of these things right now real quick. Everybody, if you're new here, please hit the subscribe. Hit that like button on the way in. I'm just checking Twitter. I don't post to X live. Actually, I don't do live streams a lot. I'm just making sure X is working. It looks like it is. I appreciate each and every one of you cruising through. So there's a lot to discuss, including the Bitcoin spot ETF news. Obviously, this is Bitcoin on the daily chart. I don't think it touched 47,000, but just cruised up towards $47,000. I want to discuss it in this video. So everybody, I appreciate you cruising through. I'm going to give it one more second, and then we're going to start. So I'm just trying to organize my screen here. Again, I'm truly not used to these live streams, everybody. So bring up that chat. Smash the like button, everybody, by the way. If you're out there, if you're enjoying the new crypto cycle that is upon us, smash the like button. I say it all the time. As we go into the next bull cycle, this is me just tracking my crypto journey. Everything I'm going to talk about in this video is me just talking about transparently how I see the charts. I have no idea. What is going to happen. I speculate on what I think is going to happen a lot, but I have no idea. None of us do. We can only ever be prepared. So here we are, Bitcoin on the daily chart. So obviously, the technicals, I think, is foundationally one thing that's driving what is happening with Bitcoin. I want to talk about the target of $50,000 to the upside, but I really want to, there's talking points, right? There's everything happening in crypto right now that is so massive, and that includes the Bitcoin spot ETF. Not only includes, it is the Bitcoin spot ETF. So how will a Bitcoin spot ETF impact Bitcoin's price? This is an article, and this is truly the biggest topic of conversation. I'm going to look at some price forecasts here in just a minute, but I don't know if y'all saw this. Do you see, I've never seen this. Did you guys see Gary Gensler 3 hours ago? What I'm saying I've never seen is this level of engagement from Gary Gensler. 20 million views, 11,000 likes. Some things to keep in mind if you're considering investing in crypto assets. Why is he saying that? That's the question. I think the answer is obvious. The Bitcoin spot ETF. Bitcoin spot ETF, imminent approval. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong. Maybe he's giving everybody a warning like, yo, these things about to be denied. You better be careful investing in crypto. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it's because it's going to be approved. But those offering crypto assets investment services may not be complying with applicable law. I'm bringing this up. Him saying this, including federal securities laws. I'm bringing it up because today, tomorrow, the 10th is a big day for Bitcoin spot ETF, but January 17th, everybody, right now, mark it on your calendar. January 17th, Coinbase versus SEC. When we have this question of, are these securities that are being traded on Coinbase? Coinbase is going to be making oral arguments in the Coinbase SEC case. This is a huge day for Bitcoin spot ETF, everything that's happening with it, but I say this all the time. Like, I really think the Coinbase SEC case and the oral arguments on January 17th are comparatively just as big. This is a monumental thing for the crypto space, what happens and how Judge Philo rules. And it can be, I don't know, as far as I understand, after oral arguments, it could be days where we get a ruling, or it could be months, right? So we'll see how that plays out. But those oral arguments are massive. And what happens with altcoins next, and we can talk more about that. Investments in crypto assets also can be exceptionally risky or often volatile. Fraudsters continue to exploit the rising popularity of crypto assets to lure retail investors into scams. What's crazy is he's right. And point number 2 and 3, I mean, it's true. It is volatile, it's risky, and there's scammers everywhere. That is true. But making waves, Gary, with the engagement. Look at that, 11,000 likes. I gotta get some advice on his socials. How does he do it? So some price forecasts, and then we're going to dive into Bitcoin charts, and then we're going to dive into ADA charts. some big things happening there, and Ethereum charts. But impact on Bitcoin price, the speculations, they're incredible. They really are insane. Some forecasts suggest a more moderate impact on Bitcoin's price. Moderate. A range of predictions fluctuate between 42,000 and 100,000 following approval. On the bullish side, experts like Samson, CEO at Gen 3, predict Bitcoin could reach 160,000 or even $1 million. Anthony Scaramucci also expects a big increase, predicting Bitcoin could hit 330,000. Time frame on those? Not exactly sure. If we're looking at those numbers from a macro perspective, multi-cycle perspective, I think those numbers are all reasonable, actually. Even $1 million, very reasonable. In the shorter term, and I think there are people that are bullish on these numbers in the very short term because of the Bitcoin spot ETF. I'm not sure I'm there yet. I do know Anthony Scaramucci, really seasoned on this side of the business, really seasoned in terms of the Bitcoin spot ETF itself and what's happening there. The approval of a spot ETF is expected to increase the demand for Bitcoin, obviously, leading to a supply squeeze. According to PwC, global assets under management now total approximately 115 trillion. Man. So I saw this post. For what it's worth, the maximum all-time assets under management for Gold Trust ETF was 84 billion in August 2020. That's 0.7% of $12 trillion global assets. The same milestone in Bitcoin terms at today, $864 billion market cap, would be roughly $6 billion in ETFs. So that gives you a little bit of a sense. And $6 billion ETFs out of the gate, that's not bad. It really is not bad. Here's Anthony Pompliano over here. Most estimates of how much assets under management will flow into the spot Bitcoin ETF upon approval are too low. My base case is at least $2 billion within the first 48 hours. And then we have this post. I went over this briefly last night, 12 to 15 billion inflow. The impact of all of these levels is going to be different on Bitcoin price. But let's go look at Bitcoin because there are some interesting things I see happening. So first off, can we just take a second and just admire the Bitcoin cycles just for a second? This is a monthly chart zoomed out, everybody. Even if the Bitcoin spot ETF wasn't happening right now, let's just take a second and admire the consistency here. I don't ever like using the word predictable in crypto analysis and in just price speculation because predicting and predictability is risky, right? But that's why I like to take data from historical context. That is to say, all these cycles, I like to take the data and say, well, let's anticipate that it repeats. And that's what Bitcoin is doing right now. And before we dive into the short-term move that's happening on Bitcoin right now, I do just want to make another note. We got like 2,000 people in here, everybody. I appreciate each and every one of you. Smash that like button if you're new in the stream. I want to lay the foundation. I know I do this a lot, and I know a lot of people might watch this and probably sick of me hearing it. But what Bitcoin is doing right now, I just want to make note of this. Exiting the bear market in the manner in which it's exiting is exactly what it has done in cycles past. So what it's doing right now, that we're not in this environment where there's this macro bullish divergence. It just did something it hasn't ever done. We've done this before, right? So last cycle, we've done it. That is to say, we've revisited a lower high Fibonacci retrace. So swing high bull market to bear market. There are those bull market doors. Bitcoin has visited the area before the halving, consolidating and then finally breaking the doors. This is what Bitcoin is getting ready to do right now. I know I mentioned the doors a lot, but this is what it did also 2 cycles ago, exiting the bear. Boom, testing the doors. So I just want to put that out there because I always think it's a really good idea, no matter how bullish or even how bearish a certain headline is. I think it's good to just start. The starting point for me, this is just for me, how I see these things. The starting point for me is like, okay, what are the charts saying? If none of these headlines were happening, what's going on? And right now, this move is exactly what Bitcoin has done prior to previous halvings. So the 618 line you can see is right around $48,000. And this is where we've seen resistance before those halvings before. So I'm still, even with all of the bullishness, even with all of these posts about how many billions of dollars, 12 to $15 billion inflow, coming into Bitcoin because of the spot ETF. Even with all of that, I'm very cautious just to analyze the charts and to see what happens at these levels. But this is why it's become exciting for me. And if you've been watching my videos, maybe exciting for you just to watch along with me. It is to say, if Bitcoin does start breaking into this Fibonacci range, and look at the Fibonacci, everybody, swing high to swing low in these from bull to bear. This is a monthly chart. If Bitcoin breaks into the Fibonacci range, and actually this would be a first if it even just on the monthly breaks into the range. That would be a first. Breaking above the 618 line. Last cycle it failed there. That would be a first. So the thing that's exciting is we could get bullish confirmation because of this happening, a first time event. And it could be Bitcoin spot ETF that's driving this, right? We have events often that trigger some type of technical move that is incredibly pivotal on a chart. It could be on a 4-hour zoomed in chart, but it very well could be on a multi-cycle zoomed out multi-year chart. And that's kind of what I'm watching right now for Bitcoin. And it's playing out before our eyes. If you're out there and you've survived the bear market, if you've just been, with me surviving all of this mess, surviving the collapse of FTX and Celsius and all the banks and everything that has taken place that should have driven Bitcoin down to like $5,000, you survived all that. Right here, we've made it. This is a multi-year process. We've made it to test such a critical like 4-year indicator. It takes 4 years to get here. Last time we broke the area was all the way back here in 2020. This is the bull market doors in November 2020. I just want to say that. I don't mean to keep repeating myself, but I'm going to keep showing that because for me, it's the starting point. Whenever I'm opening up charts, it's the starting point. Because now we have context as we do start looking into, there's a lot of black area above Bitcoin right now. Look at all this mess. But when we have questions here, well, what can actually happen if Bitcoin breaks in that area? The zoomed out gives us context. Well, there's the area on the monthly. It's a huge resistance. It's a bull market doors. Could be a first for Bitcoin. And this is what we're watching. This is what I'm watching on the daily chart. So look at this daily chart, $46,900 for Bitcoin. Be awesome just to see 47,000 consistently throughout this stream. But $46,900, Bitcoin has very simply broken out of a triangle. Again, even when I'm looking at this chart, I like to just analyze the technicals. We know the bullish underlining sentiment that is kind of cruising across the crypto space right now. We know it's there, but right now, put aside the noise and just look at the technicals. We've kind of seen, I think there was a lot of manipulation in here in anticipation of the Bitcoin spot ETF. There could be even manipulation going to get ready to happen here, but a lot of manipulation. Just look at all of this. There was this article over here that drove Bitcoin down to like $40,000 the other day. I don't know if you remember or not, but ton of manipulation, shorts, longs getting liquidated, all that good stuff up and down. And now we're getting the breakout. Target to the upside is around $50,000. I want to go back to the Bitcoin monthly, change it to a weekly, because this also provides a ton of value in terms of, what to really start looking at. And this is maybe the hopium piece of the live stream. That is to say, what if, because it's January 8th, what if we get the Bitcoin spot ETF approval tonight, tomorrow, probably the 10th? If it happens, and if Bitcoin does do this thing that we're talking about, if it breaks these bull market doors prior to the Bitcoin having this thing that is never, this would be a first for Bitcoin. What am I watching? Well, first thing, we have another technical move, this falling wedge out of the bear market. I mean, it's really the bear market setup. We have like a $60,000 target. So that's above this Fibonacci, this lower high Fibonacci range, the bull market doors. This could be an area of potential resistance, right? And I think even the other day we were discussing, there was this potential, I was trying to find the thread earlier today so I could read it, but I think it was $3.5 billion in inflow because the Bitcoin spot ETF could drive Bitcoin price to around $61,000, right? So if this is the case, we have a $60,000 target or so out of this cycle wedge, we can call it, and there could be resistance there, right? And if that's the case, then what's happening to the downside? And the one thing I wanted to note on the weekly was this: From the 20-week moving average right now, Bitcoin is overextended by 30%. If we start cruising up through the $50,000 target on the shorter term towards the 786 of the Fibonacci, this red small rectangle, that would be 60% overextended from this line, the 20-week moving average. The reason I'm bringing that up is because this is very simply bull market move, right? That's a bull market move. That overextension from the 20-week moving average like that, this is parabolic bull market move right there. And the other reason I'm pointing this out is because remember, if Bitcoin gets the breakout, this is the best that I can speculate. Bitcoin's really getting a breakout. It's giving us that bull market, early bull market vibe, the first happening where Bitcoin's breaking the bull market doors prior to halving. What I would speculate would happen is resistance around 60,000, right? So right now it's 46,000. To give you an idea, if Bitcoin runs up, and it runs up around a 30% in the coming days because of just all of the hype and maybe even inflow of the spot Bitcoin ETF first 48 hours, $60,000 I think is a good area to watch for resistance from a technical area. And I know there's probably people out there that are just like, you know what? You can't use technical analysis in environments like this. And I've heard that time and time again over the years. I've been doing these videos 6 years. You absolutely can. And it's almost every single time has been helpful for me to do this. So the scenario I'm talking about right now is if Bitcoin gets a parabolic move to the upside, $60,000. And notice what Bitcoin did when it broke the doors last time, broke that key Fibonacci, kind of cruised right through it. Look at this red candle. Bitcoin just had to come back down and test that 786 line, this upper end of the Fibonacci, right? So a similar story I could see playing out. If we take out the Fibonacci, the bull market high to bear market low, if I can get it, check it out. Now my chart's a mess. Bear with me. Take our bull market high, bear market low. I could see spot ETF drives Bitcoin crazy, breaks the Fibonacci, hitting that $60,000 range, coming back down, potentially testing into the 50s, 55, 57,000 around the 786 line, right? So that could be an early bull market move right there. And that's something that I would like to anticipate. On the flip side, and then I'm going to look at Cardano and Ethereum and talk a little bit of altcoins. On the flip side, if none of the bullishness that I just talked about, if this isn't the first time Bitcoin's going to break into an early bull market and it's not different this time, then very simply, I'm just anticipating, we have a lot of hype right now. It's happening right now. I'm doing a live stream. Many of you know I do more live streams in bull markets. I do more live streams in bull moves. They're just more fun. And I think they're more fun for you. But yeah, we're doing it. But we have a $50,000 target. If it's not different this time, resistance at that level. If at the very least, on the shorter term, if it hits this area sideways at 50 before continuation. But this is what's going to be very kind of intriguing to watch on the short term, because right now, Bitcoin, from a price perspective, is really only 7%, 6 to 7% away from the $50,000 target. Considering what is taking place right now, considering this is like one of the biggest events in Bitcoin's history, that's nothing. A move to $50,000 at this point is literally nothing. It's $3,000 away, sitting at 47,000 right now. So that's that. In regards to altcoins, everybody smash that like button if you're in here. We're cruising up there. We're close to 3,000 people in here. And if you're new out there, you're not a subscriber, smash the subscribe as well. I really appreciate you. I do. Y'all make it fun for me to sit here and kind of track the charts and track what's going on in crypto. Even in bear markets. Guess what happens if some of these estimations are correct? This is what I just posted a little bit ago. And this has everything to do with the charts, the ADA charts, Ethereum charts we're about to look at, altcoins in general. It doesn't matter if you hate ADA, you hate Ethereum, you hold Solana, AVAX, you hold Doge, doesn't matter. This applies. Guess what happens if some of these estimations are correct and Bitcoin price explodes astronomically? A majority class of retail investors will feel that Bitcoin is too expensive and they will be flocking to altcoins. I don't know about you. If you're in the chats, let me know if you agree with that sentiment. If you're in the comments replaying this video, let me know if you agree. I can't see it any other way. So I said altcoin season launchpad is being set. This was because I retweeted or reposted this. Standard Chartered Bank says Bitcoin could see $50 to $100 billion in spot ETF inflows upon approval. Do you see that? $50 to $100 billion. Did you realize how hype of a number that is? We were just looking at Pomp over here. He was saying at least $2 billion in the first 48 hours. This is next level, right? That's a next level post that I reposted. But needless to say, if that happens, Bitcoin price is going to go just crazy. And if that happens, the majority of people, especially ones that have just over the years haven't had interest in Bitcoin, what are they going to be gravitating to? They're going to be gravitating to altcoins, right? And here's actually what I thought was pretty interesting. Amidst right now, this is an ADA BTC chart, and I'm on a weekly, but I just want to real quick zoom in on a 4-hour. So we're going to talk about the zoomed out, but even on the 4-hour, I just think it's interesting that altcoins in general anyway are, and you go to ETH BTC on the weekly truly looks like it's bottoming, right? Kind of like this area of support on ETH BTC. This is telling me things like ETH BTC, Ethereum is getting ready to have a really nice run from a USD perspective. We're going to look at these charts for ADA and for Ethereum. But you go and you look at, let's go to the hourly or on something like Ethereum. I just find it interesting. And I'm not saying that it's, altcoins are pumping against Bitcoin. I just find it interesting that it's very sideways. And then actually, even for more clarity to what I'm trying to explain here, let me change this back to a weekly. For more clarity, what I'm trying to explain here, we go to Bitcoin dominance chart, and you would really think Bitcoin spot ETF coming, billions and billions and billions of inflow, speculative coming into play. You would almost think, going to the weekly, that right now, Bitcoin would already be testing this area. And it's not, right? Obviously, this current weekly candle on the week before, it's green. And I anticipate that it will continue going green. But I'm just very surprised it's not more of a power move happening on Bitcoin. But this is my point in terms of altcoins. And then I'm going to dig into the ADA charts and Ethereum charts, truly dig into them. My point here is this. I've had this case for Bitcoin that is, it is just falling over time. Bitcoin dominance is falling, meaning altcoins are taking market share from the total dominance of Bitcoin, right? Over here in 2016, which really wasn't that long ago, Bitcoin dominance was 98%. 98%. And then 2016 halving happened. There's that crazy 2017 bull market, and Bitcoin just fell. Bitcoin dominance fell all the way down to 35%. We're talking about it was almost 100%. It was 98%, fell to around 35% in that bull market in green. And then it comes back up. It tests a lower high Fibonacci, Bitcoin dominance. And then the next bull cycle after the 2020 Bitcoin halving, it fell again. So right now, we're getting ready to test another lower high Fibonacci. And this is just perfect. Right now, in terms of Bitcoin dominance has around 10 to 20% of upside to test the lower high Fibonacci. And this could literally be the window for the Bitcoin spot ETF to take effect. All eyes, the spotlight on Bitcoin. Bitcoin dominance truly does rise, setting up for alt season, right? So Bitcoin dominance, I think, is probably going to continue rising a little bit, but it's still going to be a macro lower high for Bitcoin. And then 2024, Bitcoin halving comes into play. And guess what? The bull market comes into play as long as there's not some crazy black swan event of some sort. And 2024 gets insanely disrupted. Altcoin season then is just set so well, especially because Bitcoin price, if it's higher, if it keeps going higher, altcoins are just going to be attractive to the vast majority of people, because that's just how mentality works in terms of crypto itself. Okay. So that's Bitcoin dominance, the story of Bitcoin dominance, and how it's playing out so nicely. And we were tracking the lower high Fibonacci before we were even really getting hyped or anticipating this imminent Bitcoin spot ETF launch. The Bitcoin spot ETF headline is playing perfect into this chart. And that's just the thing. No matter how big or small the headline, it's almost like headlines always trigger just such really nice technical moves. So going over to ADA, and then I want to go over and do some Ethereum analysis. This is ADA on the weekly chart. So ADA trying to make a little bit of a comeback. The point I want to point out on ADA, again, is put aside Bitcoin spot ETF news, whatever's happening there. ADA right now has just tested, and look at the resistance. Is it a coincidence that we had like almost a month worth of weekly wicks testing the 200-week moving average? It's not a coincidence. This was incredibly clear resistance area for ADA. You can even go back here, and this whole 60-cent area was just an area from a technical analysis perspective where there's likely going to be resistance. Not to mention, when it reached the area on the weekly, Cardano ADA was overbought. So that's the first thing I want to say. Now, one other thing I want to mention in regards to the Cardano weekly chart is this. The Chang hard fork. So as far as I understand this is in terms of Cardano governance, the step towards Cardano governance. I'm not going to do a video on this right now, but I'm going to do a video on this. If y'all been watching my Cardano content over the years, you know I've been tracking all these hard forks, right? The Shelly staking mechanism as it applies on this chart, there it was. That's the Shelly hard fork. Mary, the multi-asset ledger, Alonzo and smart contracts, the Vasil hard fork and scalability. We've been tracking it as it plays out on these ADA charts. And right now we have another hard fork to actually put on here. And I believe it's Q1, in between Q1 and Q2, right? So April, January, February, March, April, May, I don't know. But do you see this blue line on the screen? That's April, right? That's in between Q1, Q2. That's the Bitcoin halving. Really great timing from a narrative perspective that Cardano has something like this going on. I'll just put that there. And now we start looking at the cycles of Cardano. And I just want to make a note. Cardano right now is this move, right, that happened here. It's happening early. And I say this time and time again in my Cardano analysis. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. But the move to the upside is happening early. Now, what I found interesting is going over here to the daily chart. And this is just me in terms of my analysis with ADA. So ADA weekly, very similar vibes, this move here to the move into Shelly. We've talked a lot about that, right? So we've anticipated the potential to pull back into the moving averages, a very normal move for ADA right now, pulling back into the 20, the 50-week moving average. Here's ADA now, the 20-week moving average around 38 cents, the 50-week moving average just below around 36 cents. Just ADA consolidating into those moving averages, normal, right? But I was just looking at this chart, mainly on the daily, and I started seeing a little bit of a similarity on the daily. This is a weekly chart, but this move here, I started seeing some similarities on the daily to what's taking place here. And I wanted to analyze it because what happens next will distinguish the difference. Are we more in a move that's like here, or are we on a move like that's right here? If we get that early parabolic move for Bitcoin through the bull market doors, we're probably in a move more like here. With meaning another explosive move is potentially in play for ADA that I probably would bring ADA to $1 quite quickly in a move like that. So on the daily, this is what the move looks like. It's just a very simple, we're getting this uptrend that ADA has been in, right? Obviously, this really nice uptrend, but you have this little move separating from the 20-day moving average right there, this move to the upside and then pulling back into the 20-day. And the reason why I'm even tracking it right now is because currently you can see ADA interacting with the 50-day. This is a bull market move, right? And this isn't me saying we're in the bull market, but the bull market move is higher highs and higher lows above the 50 and the 20, right? It can fall below the 20, but if we're seeing consistent higher highs and higher lows above these two, that's bull market move right there. And right now we're seeing this green candle at the 50-day kind of just very quickly just turn things around. This is the only reason I'm analyzing this. Otherwise, I'd be anticipating meeting the 200-day moving average as it kind of pulls into ADA, maybe around 30, 36, 38 cents. that would be more in line with ADA falling to meet these big weekly moving averages that we discussed. However, it is making this move right now. Bitcoin is knocking on the bull market doors, and it could happen in the next couple of days, might not. So I'm just analyzing right now. This move could potentially play out to be a bull market style move. And this is, look at the similarities even in the structure kind of setting up. Just separation from the 20-day moving average. It pulls back into the 20 and the 50. You can see it tests the 50, a very similar thing that's happening right now in the ADA charts, and then it goes higher. So that's kind of what I'm watching on the ADA charts in the very short term. And you can see, let me get the horizontal line and just let's make a note on the RSI where it bounced on the RSI. This typical just hanging out in the upper region of the RSI, higher highs and higher lows. This is bull market type of stuff, right? Not falling down into oversold. That's bull market type of move on the momentum oscillator there. So we go over to the momentum oscillator now. What's it doing? It's interacting with a very similar area on the slower moving momentum oscillator. So in order for this truly to play out, I think we'll find out quickly, ADA needs to escape the downtrend that is currently in, right? So it needs to escape and start getting separation once again from this RSI line. It's in play. It's what I'm watching. Going to the short term, let's discuss what just happened though. I want to actually take a real quick clip from, this was January 2nd, 6 days ago. ADA, I think it was 60 cents. Check it out. Same thing with ADA right now. ADA, target to the downside. If ADA fails at the triangle that it's trading within right now, target to the downside, 45 cents, target to the upside around 80 cents. So 60 cents, we're talking about a target to the downside of 45 cents. This is first off why I'm always just anticipating targets. At any given time, I have no idea what target will be hit, but it's just so, when it happens, it's literally just so normal. It's so normal. And here it is on the 6-hour chart. It was at 60 cents and we hit a target. And it wasn't fun. I mean, ask my wife. When this is happening, like when this move is happening, I don't even really check my portfolio anymore. I'm not refreshing my portfolio every 2 minutes. No more. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it at all. But when it's happening, I'm just like, it's like not really worrying. You know what I'm saying? Because this is a shorter term triangle. The target was really, I mean, it didn't hit 45 exactly. It's just 46, but just, I think it's a really nice move of consolidation. And we just really broke down what it looks like on the daily, the 50-day moving average happening to be this kind of short-term support. We're going to keep an eye on it, but that's just such a typical move. And the thing that's really, I think, what we should take from this, just seeing that it just happened, the thing that we should all take from this, the lesson, the reminder, I should say, this is exactly what happens in bull markets. So when we get to, let's say, altcoin season finally makes its way, right? And cryptos are just absolutely exploding. We're approaching all-time highs again. And this isn't even really that big of a pullback, but red candles just falling to key moving averages to reset the charts. This is what bull markets are made of as well. So dips, they will come. And the key for me, so that I can keep it together mentally, is this is why I do so much technical analysis for myself and just track the charts so closely. The key for me is to understand what the targets to downside are. And the key question that I'm always asking myself is this: is this normal? Is this move normal? That's what does it for me. Because if it's normal, I'm like, okay. I have years and years and years of historical data. It's not going to guarantee that we're all good to go, right? But at least it's something that helps me really plan my portfolio and where I am, feel comfortable with where I am, but also just tolerate the move, right? It's such a fast moving space. Tolerating moves is like so important. So right now, if we're going back to ADA, really what I want to see now, finally, we have, usually when targets are hit, and we really did kind of get a target, right? Triangle, breakout to downside, 45 cent target that we were tracking in this video, pretty much hit. Now, what I wait for is kind of just what's the next piece of structure going to look like, right? And usually when we get shorter term moves, this ends up being larger piece of structure, right? So We had a small triangle here. Well, now we might get a larger triangle here, right? Or some other type of pattern. Maybe it will end up being an ascending triangle. That's what I do. I just wait now. Charts are reset. Now I just start analyzing. If ADA makes a move, there's going to be some maybe resistance at 59.60 cents at the 20-day moving average. If ADA really makes a big move, if this current day pump turns into something special for altcoins, altcoin might retest, or ADA might retest 60 to 65 cents. Then we really might actually start putting in an ascending triangle or something. So now I'm just waiting for structure for ADA. But I do know on the macro, I'm very happy with where ADA is at this part of the cycle. You look at last cycle at this moment. If we look at these red boxes, we just exited this red box. We're prior to the halving. ADA's at 53 cents. At this time last cycle, ADA was at around 6 cents, right? So that says a lot in terms of where ADA is right now, this cycle around. And the move that's happening right now for ADA is, I would say, happening earlier than happened last time. Going over to something like Ethereum has really, if you just look at this is a weekly chart, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. And I want to make note, even before that 6 weeks of consolidation kind of started, at this upper trend line, by the way, Ethereum was up 40 to 50%. We're talking about Ethereum was up in this environment where altcoins were up 100, 200, 300, 400%, right? Ethereum only up 40 to 50. These dominant blue chips, you notice they're just in levels. Like Bitcoin, the gains are less than something like Ethereum. And then Ethereum, it's like the gains are going to be less than smaller cap altcoins. And it's like all these altcoins have levels. And you never know what's going to outperform the others. But Ethereum is no surprise. It's such a power player in the space. It's number 2 crypto, huge market cap. It's no surprise that the gains will be a little bit diminished over each cycle. So right now, the whole thing with Ethereum has been very sideways, right? So Ethereum at this upper trend line, here's where Ethereum might have a true power move getting ready to happen. Many people would argue the fact that it's even at this upper trend line for this amount of weeks, that's a very bullish confirmation, right? You go to something like the weekly on the oscillator, not an overbought, ton of room for upside. There's such an explosive move ready to happen on Ethereum. And by the way, I want to go look at an ADA explosive move on the weekly as well. But for Ethereum, 4,600, $4,700 is the breakout target. That's around 100% gain for Ethereum out of this pattern. The thing I want to say about Ethereum is Bitcoin spot ETF narrative obviously has been a game changer for Bitcoin. It's bringing a lot of attention, right, to Bitcoin, to the crypto space. Ethereum has the same, once Bitcoin ETF stuff settles, Ethereum has the same exact narrative going into this year. Ethereum spot ETF. What is that going to do with Ethereum? Nothing is guaranteed in this space, but I would just say Ethereum just making a really strong move to this next target, really testing all-time highs. It's just so in play, right? And I'm talking in the shorter to midterm. I don't even think this would take that long for Ethereum to just get absolutely explosive out of nowhere once a Bitcoin spot ETF spotlight just kind of settles down a little bit. So that's Ethereum. And again, ETH BTC, this plays into the Bitcoin dominance falling theory. Over time, Bitcoin dominance is falling. Look at ETH BTC this cycle compared to last cycle around the halving. Look how much higher it is. Ethereum dominance versus BTC has grown. It's become stronger. And I think that is going to be the case for all of these altcoins. We go over to the weekly chart on ADA BTC. Check it out. At this time last cycle, ADA BTC was hanging out all the way down here. Now it's all the way up here. There's a continued story that Bitcoin is losing its dominance to altcoins, especially the big players, the blue chips like Ethereum, like Cardano, like Solana. AVAX. It's going to continue to lose. And again, when I start thinking about what I posted earlier, what happens if some of these estimations are correct and Bitcoin price it just explodes astronomically? Retail investors, they're going to think Bitcoin's too expensive and they're going to be flocking to altcoins. And so the story of ADA BTC growth, ETH BTC growth happening and continuing on the macro, I think it's just going to be even more, a more sound, consistent story. So those are my thoughts, everybody. And I mentioned on the weekly on ADA, I wanted to go to the weekly. We still do have, because we just broke down ETH, this triangle, right? Right around $4,700 target. Well, ADA also has a triangle target, a different triangle setup, but that's 85 cents, right? So these numbers in play, and these are just, in my view, these are the warm-up targets. These are the pivoting out of the bear market targets. And then from there, there's going to be way higher, in my view, targets for Cardano, way higher targets for Ethereum when we start looking at these weekly charts. And that's all for another video. Those are my thoughts, everybody, today. Did any news? I've been like updating my X. Always just wondering while I'm doing a live stream if any news came out or anything like that. But I think I'd see it in the comments if anything crazy happened. But these are my thoughts on all these markets, everybody. We just broke 1,000 likes. That's what I'm talking about. Pound. 40 minutes, 40-minute live stream. I appreciate you guys. Just glancing at the comments. I think I'll end it there with 1,000 likes. Nice little milestone for the day to get the year started right. This is the first live stream of the year. Hopefully, God willing, more to come. And either way, everybody, let's see what happens. Keep it cool, unemotional, follow the data. This is, I think, the best approach that we can all have. But again, will be very interesting to see how this Bitcoin breakout plays out and how the altcoins react as well to the Bitcoin Spot ETF news. Hit the subscribe, turn notifications on, everybody. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.